If you've been following politics recently, the word gerrymandering is probably going to sound really familiar to you. Basically, the party that controls a state gets to redraw the districts to their liking, causing a lot of bias in how that state actually represents its voters. It's also something that most people clearly don't really understand because oftentimes they'll blame gerrymandering for affecting statewide races, even though they literally only affect district races, but that's a completely other story. So essentially, recently, California and Texas have been, well, redrawing their maps, and in November, California will likely pass a provision to begin that. They're very likely to pass it in the November special election, and what that's going to do is basically there'll be like one or two Republican seats, and every other seat in the state is going to be Democrat. And on the flip side, the way Texas has redrawn its maps, most of their seats are going to be Republican. Three or four will probably be Democrat, which will shrink that amount by a considerable margin. And other Republican states are also joining in on this, such as Ohio and Florida and several other states. And this is going to basically create a scenario where now purple districts just got completely removed. And here's the thing about this, this has kind of been happening for a while now. It's just become more clear now with this redistricting war. But even in 2024, the House was decided by a razor thin margin. And in 2020, it was once again a razor thin margin when Democrats flipped it, and then Republicans, of course, flipped it back. So this is in part because, well, elections, Americans have gotten very partisan. But again, the way districts are being redrawn, purple districts consistently disappearing in favor of districts that are more biased towards one party's direction. Yeah, I mean, that's gonna make it really hard for one party to really grab on if that's happening. And every single state now at this point is going to have some sort of incentive, even if it's a swing state, to bias it in whichever party is currently controlling it. So, what does this mean? Well, basically, get ready for that to happen. I imagine as the decade comes to a close, as we enter the 2030s, any state controlled by a Democrat or a Republican is going to gerrymander the hell out of their districts, and they're basically going to create a entire House map where out of 435 House representatives, there's going to be like a guaranteed 210 seats for both parties, give or take, and maybe the rest will be purple, but honestly, you could go 219, 217 at the closest split, and you can never truly reach that, but they're all going to have that in mind. And what does this mean effectively? Well, the House is going to basically have useless elections going forward because no matter who wins, any majority is going to be so razor thin that legislation is going to really struggle to pass. So, yeah, get ready for that. That's really pessimistic to think about, but it kind of seems to be checking out. And well, I guess it does fit the state of the country right now, where we're just super partisan and no one really wants to get anything done. I could go on, but yeah, that's where things are currently looking. So if you're expecting big legislation to keep happening, it's better now than it will be in 5 to 10 years from now, given the trajectory of things. But, it would be great to be wrong. However, you can kind of see where the wind is blowing.